Thank you, Dr. Flores, for sharing all the great work going on at the Alamo Colleges. I'm Kristina Flores from the Texas Success Center, and if you were excited by that presentation, get ready. I'm going to talk to you about the data you get to look at next in our team strategy time together. So Texas Pathways has now matured to a place where we have the ability to look at long-term outcomes. And this comes at the perfect time since we're here to talk about the future of funding, where we'll be thinking about how we're going to fund our colleges based on these outcomes. So those of you that have been with us before may remember that we have looked at early momentum metrics in the past together, disaggregated by several different student characteristics. And those momentum metrics occur in either the first semester or the first year that those students are with us. And we were pleased to see great gains in those, even during the COVID years, suggesting that Texas Pathways was really helping those students to improve their outcomes with us when they saw us the first semester or first year. Research has shown that those are predictive of longer-term outcomes. And so here we are, about ready to look at our longer-term outcomes. So I'm going to go over with you what those outcomes are, how we collect them here at the Texas Success Center, and the types of questions you're going to be answering together in your team strategy time. Let me just say that there are no answers in these data points, right? There are only trends and observations that you can talk about amongst yourselves in this team strategy time to come up with some plans of action and some potential solutions. So at the statewide level, if we think about completion, we're measuring completion within 3 years here at the Texas Success Center. Eventually, we will add a 6-year metric, but Texas Pathways is only about 5 years old, so we're ready to start looking at how students are doing 3 years after joining us. And so at the state level, we've seen completion rates improve. So prior to Texas Pathways in 2014 and 2015, we had about 15.6% of first time in college students earning a credential, which could have been a certificate or associate degree with us within 3 years. The 2018 cohort is up to 18.5%. Now this might seem like an old data point, but these students had 3 years to complete this degree. So really this data point allowed those students to persist through 2021, and then we measured whether they earned a credential. So we get this data from the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board, and we use first time in college students since we're evaluating the impact of guided pathways and the work that we're doing. We want to know how the students experience that. This is a great trend, but I'm sure you can all imagine that we would like this number to be greater. So one of the things that you can discuss is how we can continue this trend upwards and accelerate improvement in these credential outcomes. You're also going to have the opportunity to look at these outcomes broken down by several different disaggregations. So our potential funding formula is going to allow us to look at economically and academically disadvantaged students. And so some of the ways that we can look at that, students that have been historically underserved in our colleges, are by race and ethnicity, gender, and Pell status, which we use as a proxy for socioeconomic status. Just an example, here at the statewide level, again looking at that 2018 cohort, we can see that about 18% of students earned a credential across the state within 3 years. We saw that on the previous slide. When we look at that for different students from different racial and ethnic backgrounds, we see some variation there. So our Black students are underperforming compared to the state in the proportion of them that have earned a credential in 3 years. And we see that our Hispanic students and white students are slightly overperforming the state average as well. But we want to talk about why that difference might exist and what practices and policies we can put in place to help lift all boats. Of course, we want that 18% to be greater as well, but to think about what we can do for our students from different racial and ethnic backgrounds, again, as Cynthia mentioned, to make them feel like they belong in the college, that their needs are met both academically and personally, and so that they can succeed at greater rates. We're also going to talk about transfer. This isn't a great image, but the arrows are not going the way we'd want them to go. They're pretty level here for transfer. I hope that if we have this conversation again in a year or two, we can see the arrows point up a little bit, but you can see here that there's not been a lot of improvement here for our cohorts of students transferring to four-year universities. Now, the denominator, if you're a math nerd here, is all first-time and college students. So it's not necessarily transfer intending students as the denominator. However, we would really like to see these numbers improve. This is a great opportunity to build those relationships with our four-year partners, to build out those clear and coherent pathways, and to think about all the ways we can support students to get to those four-year partners if that is in fact their intended goal. So again, you will have the opportunity to look at this data by those different student disaggregates. So again, here using race and ethnicity, we can see about 13% of that 2018 cohort went on to transfer to a four-year college or university. And we can see that our Black and Hispanic students are underperforming compared to the state average. I shouldn't say that students are underperforming. The colleges are underperforming in the way that they're supporting their students through transfer. And we'd really, again, like to see all of those numbers raised, but the conversations, the data doesn't have the answer in there, but you all do, and you actually have the power to make those changes as well. And so that's really the great opportunity you have in your team strategy times to think about what the college can do to improve those numbers across the board. So that's Team Time Strategy 1 today. I'm going to give you a brief look at tomorrow as well. Tomorrow you're going to drill down and look at program level data. This data comes from IPEDS, and you're going to be looking at the completions at your college in 2020 and 2021. And what we're going to be doing is thinking through what outcomes are associated with those programs. When you hear from Ray Martinez later tonight about our funding formula, potential funding formula, you're going to hear about credentials of value. And so we want to start thinking about what outcomes are associated with the programs that our students are completing. So we're here in Guided Pathways, trying to put folks in a meta major and into a program that leads them directly to a career that they want or to a program at a four-year university. Yet we still have a majority of folks finishing in liberal arts and sciences, general studies and humanities. So that's that top bar you see at the state level. So we have over 50,000 completions in that program. No one will be surprised to see health professions and related services after that. Dr. Flores mentioned the great pathways they're building to help folks see both short and long-term goals in the health sciences. And we know that this is going to be a field that is going to remain in importance in Texas and across the country. So we don't even have to worry about our students moving somewhere else and not finding a job in health professions and related services. And so we see over 16,000 completions in that program. Next is business management, marketing, and related. We have about almost 14,000 completions in that program. And then moving down, Homeland Security, law enforcement, firefighting, and related protective services, and then computer and information sciences and support services. So tomorrow you're going to have the opportunity to look at these findings for your individual college. Now, we're looking kind of broadly at the high level program. You will have more programs at your college that are at with more specificity. And if you want to look at those, all of this data is available on our dashboards. So we are providing you with the data to work with, but if you want to drill deeper or look at different student populations and look at these outcomes by race, ethnicity, and gender, you will be able to do that through our interactive dashboards as well. So once you've discovered your high completing programs, you will also be able to look at the wages associated with that. This data comes from the US Census Bureau for the Post-Secondary Education Employment Outcomes Explorer. I think I maybe have an extra E in there. This is just a sample college. You will look at your individual colleges. We've pulled the data for you, so you'll be able to see it, but you can also go interact if you want as well. And so the question is, for these programs that you're offering, how are your students, what are your students earning afterwards? And so you can see the lower bar on the left here is 1 year post-graduation from your institution. So this is data about your students. And then the bar on the right, the darker blue, is 5 years post-graduation. And if you remember that the first two are liberal arts from the state, then health science is the second one. So right away you can see your health science students are going to earn more than their liberal arts peers. It was business is the third one in the middle, if you remember. Protective services like law enforcement and Homeland Security, and then computer and information sciences was that last one. So you'll have the opportunity to look at this exact data for your own college as well. So you'll be able to see how your students are performing after they leave you 1 year and 5 year post-grad. Again, no solutions in any of these data points, but really great conversation starters for you all to have during team strategy time too. So this is the data we've prepared for you. It is all publicly available. Your resident faculty and coaches will direct you to the dashboards should you want to play around with it deeper, but don't worry, we've pulled it all for you. And we hope that it really inspires some great conversations. And as Cynthia said, that it informs the way that you commit to action when you go back to your colleges and think through the ways in which you can support your students to success. So we will be here to help you, but this is the data, and we hope that it inspires some great conversations. So you will move on after this to your team strategy time 1. The locations are in your folder and also up here. And then after team strategy time 1, where you're just looking at the completion and transfer metrics today, we'll meet back here together in this space for a reception and cash bar and a dinner plenary where we'll get to hear more about the Texas Community College Finance Commission and potential funding model. So we wish you great luck today in your first team strategy time, and we'll see you back here around 5 o'clock.